I would get up at 5 in the morning because this work ethic is really how I have become as successful as I am. I just have one of the strongest work ethics of anybody. I always say to young comedians, if you look at somebody, just work harder than everyone else around you. And if you see somebody who you kind of want what they have or what they're doing, then study the way that they're working and try and incorporate that into how you work. It's very important. But I would get up at 5 in the morning, go onto the set of Silicon Valley, shoot a 14-hour day or a 16-hour day. And then when everybody else went home to study the script for the next day or decompress, I would go eat at home, maybe spend a little time with Kate or whoever I was dating. And then I would go out to open mics and shows. And I wouldn't do, I was on television, so I wasn't doing like dinky open mics, although I did the open mic here after the show on Sunday. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, why not? And then
I love that.
And then I would go and I would do one show, ideally 2 shows. Then after the show, I want to hang out and talk shop, just like all stand-up comedians do. And then I would go home at 2 in the morning, go to sleep, wake up at 5 in the morning again, go read the script at a table read cold, because I always do better with a cold read. And then I would not memorize any of my lines, and I would just go to my trailer, and then whenever they told me this is the scene that you're going to be doing, I would memorize those lines, kind of like cramming, like crash course for every single scene that I needed to do, and it worked. I would improvise. I'm better with a cold read. Even in college, I did better cramming for stuff than studying it over the course of several weeks or whatever. And I was doing that for so long that it was really, as my wife said, I love this new expression, you got to stop burning the candle on both ends. You're going to end up just being the middle of a candle. You're just going to be a candle middle candle. But I was doing that really consistently, and it was a lot. It was too much. And so sometimes what we say is if I had kept going at that pace, I might be dead. I kind of believe that because of the brain injury, and because of that thing. But yeah, and I was sort of using alcohol or nitrous oxide or indica marijuana to try and slow everything down, but I was still working at that pace. So that's a very difficult alchemy to try and figure out and make sure for it to work, sort of. But I was always doing stand-up when I was acting, but I wasn't touring. I didn't have that. For 10 years, I was not headlining clubs every single weekend, and that's what all of those guys were doing. And so after a while, that really, you get that mastery, and I've only been a full-time stand-up comic for 3 to 4, 7 years, but 2 of those obviously were in the pandemic. So really only 5 years. And I didn't tour in stand-up for like 8 months, but for about a year after that, everybody was like, what the fuck are we doing? Do I talk about the pandemic? Do I not talk about the pandemic? The audiences for the first 6 months or 4 months were just very sparse. It was a very thin amount of people that were coming to shows. So I kind of have only been touring as a full-time comedian for 5 years. And I've been doing comedy. I've been a stand-up comedian since 2003, at least. So I've done it over 2 decades.
Yeah, you started in like Chicago with like Pete Holmes, right?
Yeah,
like
and Kumail Nanjiani, Nick Vatterott, and
insane.
the list goes on and on. It's like Hannibal Buress.
Wow.
As you said, Nate Bargatze dropped in for a little while there. And then like this guy, Brady Novak, who's a genius. There are all these people that now, David Angelo, who writes for The Tonight Show, who I went to college with.